Send to this now. It's been an evening of celebration for one of South Africa's most respected and celebrated actors, Dr. John Kani, at the Market Theatre in Newtown, Johannesburg, hosted by the Department of Sports, Arts and Culture, celebrating Kani, who turns 80 years today. Well, Newzroom Afrika's Katleho Sekhoto was there, and she is live still for us and bringing us the latest. Katleho, good to have you, and thank you very much for coming on. Take us into the room. What has been happening, and how have the festivities gone on today?
A very good evening, Thabo. Indeed, it's been such a celebratory mood here. Dr. John Kani turning 80 years old today, actually. And it's been a celebration of his work over the past 6 decades. And what we saw here at the Market Theatre was actors in their own rights putting on snippets, if you will, of some of his best plays and putting a show on. And really at the end of the event, Mr. Kani really thanking everyone who's played such a pivotal role in his career and his life. And I think you can really sense the level of gratitude from Dr. Kani here tonight. But to bring in here the Arts and Culture Department, the Minister, Sekhoto, obviously the department leading the way, hosting this event and honoring the doctor. Just to speak to us about tonight, Minister, thank you so much for your time. It's been an incredible celebration of Dr. Kani. Why was it important for the department to hold this event?
The department has 4 elements: sport, arts and culture, and heritage. And all these 4 elements are very important in building a nation. These are anchors, are pillars of a nation. Tonight we're celebrating arts and creatives sector, which also coincides with the birthday of John Bonisile Kani. You'll understand that throughout history, art and culture has always been a pillar. Through it has expressed the living conditions of our people. People like John, they come a long way, even pre our liberation movement. And therefore it was important, which is my view when I came into the office, that we must acknowledge and recognize excellence. We must acknowledge and recognize those who have contributed to the development of what a nation is, in a way to educate the younger generations and to inspire others. And I think today's event, honoring him as one of the living legends. Many others are here. We are talking about Professor Peter Kantuli. We are talking about people whom we honored before, like Peter Makubane. We are talking about Matosini and others who have used art to make a contribution and an expression of the living conditions of our people. There are many others. Unfortunately and sadly, we lost our next living legend in the name of Ngetiwe Sylvia Mjunielo, who was our next, who passed away last week. So we will continue to identify and acknowledge them. Many of them are in a form of art, many of them in the creative space. And I think it's important for the nation, because we have not yet achieved a nation of our dream. And I think sports, arts and culture and heritage have an important role as the building blocks of a nation we seek to build. That's why we're playing a very important part to make sure that we lift up the role of sport, we lift up the role of art and culture, not as entertainment, but as an element of nation building in terms of social cohesion, national identity. And it's important, this element of national identity and nation building.
Now, Minister, one of the important things that Mr. Kani noted was that we need to industrialize the sector. We need to make it lucrative. It shouldn't be a hobby. It should be where people come in and build a career and a life. What do you think your engagements will be going forward, his call tonight?
One of the engagements I've had, and on a continuous basis I'll continue to have, is with the Minister of Labour. In terms of the labour laws, people in the creative arts, in terms of the creative sector, they are not workers. And that is where you find exploitation and discrimination. And yet they pay 25% to SARS, for example, like all of us. There's something that we must do to amend the law if we are to end exploitation. There are 2 bills that are before NCOP as we speak now. The Performance Amendment Bill and the Copyright Bill. They will go a long way to end exploitation and discrimination by agencies and the record companies. But they won't go enough if we don't have a law, we don't amend the legislation which must define them as workers. They make a huge contribution to the GDP of the country. But the discrimination and the fact that they're unfairly dealt with, I mean, if you look at people who are in production, they will tell you that they're on set from 6 a.m. to 12 midnight. If you look at how much they earn, they have no overtime to some of them. It's exploitation. So we need a law that regulates the industry so that it gives them certain rights. And I'm involved in the process already with Minister of Labour and Minister of Department of Trade and Industry. So this alliance, tripartite alliance, we're already engaging on how best to regulate the industry.
And just your last message to Dr. Kani as he celebrates his 80th birthday.
It's one of the contributions we have never forget in the country. He is not to retire anytime soon. I am pleased that among the first people I met after my appointment, I've known him for many years, always inspired me as a young man. But having been appointed, I met with him, and his commitment today, that he's prepared to work with the department, with myself in particular, to make sure that we industrialize, to make sure that it's not become a hobby, but it becomes professional, but as well as business. And I think those in the industry must make that contribution with understanding that this is not just a hobby. We must work together to make sure that we make this but an industry that everybody can expedite their careers.
Thank you.
A question quickly. You just mentioned the copyright bill. Can you give us a comment on the controversies that have been happening around that? I'm sure you've seen that in the media.
There are no controversies around the bills. Fair use, when the president received the first bill from the National Assembly, he sent it back for further public hearings. Fair use was incorporated in the submissions of many stakeholders. We are not sure yet of the final outcome of the consolidated bill from Parliament. So we can't make assumptions that it's not incorporated, because all these sectors, including those that Humashed, in their submission, fair use was a submission. We will wait for the final, and I'm sure that NCOP in its final product will incorporate fair use.
Thank you very much for your time, Minister. There you heard it, Thabo, from the Minister of Sports, Arts and Culture, Sekhoto, outlining changes at a legislative level that will empower creatives in the sector. And really this comes at the back of Dr. John Kani's call when he was on stage, this evening, saying that that the sector needs to be industrialized, and that more artists need to be empowered so that they don't turn to the sector as a hobby, but rather as where people make a life, because this is where artists want to be, instead of having to fill in the gaps with other forms of employment. But I do have with me as well the good Dr. John Kani here. I just want to bring him here as well. Doctor, thank you so much. That was, yes, we are ready. We are ready. You gave such a heartfelt Thanksgiving there at the end of the birthday celebrations, calling for the industrialization of the sector. I can sense your gratitude about this evening. What stood out for you, and what makes you so happy about today?
Just the number of people that came out on a Wednesday evening when they have to go to work tomorrow. But they took that time to come and be part of this evening, to pay tribute to my work, my life, and just being a father. That stood out for me. I kept looking at these people thinking they're loving what they see. To watch those actors trying to recreate the leading roles on my life that set me on a pedestal in the international stages, to watch South Africans go over those lines, go over those roles. It gave me such a hope for this industry for tomorrow. Because these people, young people, are very talented. They just need opportunity to be given work. To be given work. In this country, we rehearse for 3 weeks. We perform for 2 weeks. You can't employ an actor for 5 weeks and expect they're going to look after themselves and look after their families, look after their possessions. They don't have medical aid. They don't have pension fund. They don't have nothing now. So this makes it impossible. So when I talk about the industrialization of the arts, in England, the West End employs hundreds of thousands of people in the industry, 365 days a year. In America, I don't even want to talk about Broadway. It's just a place of employment. If you don't work in the arts overseas because you're not good enough. But here, it doesn't mean a thing how good you are, because still you're going to struggle. So when I said to the minister, we need to structure a strategy, a plan. We need to give ourselves 3 to 5 years when we will overhaul the entire entertainment industry and make it serve our communities, provide work security. Of course, I also ask for financial management on the artists themselves, so they don't blame me tomorrow when they have no money, when they did make money while they were working. So I want to set up this thing about where we teach. We teach them financial management. Also, we teach them looking after themselves. Because this body, this soul, this being, this voice is the only equipment I have to make a lot of money. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thabo, yes, Dr. Kani there expressing his gratitude for this evening and reiterating that message that he'd like to see so many more young creatives being, taken into the sector and seeing it as a viable economic structure which they can build their lives on, and which is a lucrative business as well, and not just a sector for people to be creatives. And this is the message that has been, shared across the entire evening, but also just honoring the man that he is and the career which spans almost 6 decades. Honoring him on his 80th birthday here today at the Market Theatre.
And Katleho, what has been the prevailing message from all the various big names that we're seeing there behind you around what they think has been the biggest contribution that was made by Dr. John Kani?
Well, certainly the message has been that, he's one person who's, written his own plays, featured in films, some big Hollywood films like Black Panther and such. But it's really about the fact that he's been able to come home and be still an instrument of learning, helping young people, learn in university. I know he was a lecturer at Wits University at some point, teaching young people and giving back to people. And so this is the sense you get from the crowd here today. People who've been touched by Dr. John Kani in some way or another in terms of learning and growing and developing. And so as much as he's created this legacy for himself, he's been able to share it with so many young people in terms of learning, training and development.
Fantastic. Katleho, appreciate it. Thank you very much for bringing us that update. They're live for us at the Market Theatre, where Dr. John Kani is being celebrated. By the way, hope to have a sit-down with Dr. Kani, possibly tomorrow, if he's not too tired. Having had that celebration, we'll have him here on In Focus for an in-depth conversation. Right.